Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Hello Word, the podcast where we dive into everyday English words, concepts, and expressions to help you enrich your language skills. My name is Alex, and I am absolutely thrilled that you have joined me for today's program playlist. This time around, we are going to explore a set of English words that describe feelings and personality traits, especially those that appear in daily conversations. One of the most important steps in learning a new language is understanding the right words to use in the right situations. Being able to describe how you feel or how someone else feels is crucial for clear and meaningful communication, whether you are chatting with family, friends, or coworkers. By the end of this episode, you will have a deeper awareness of several key words that will allow you to express a variety of feelings in more precise and accurate ways. As always, I encourage you to not only listen, but also take notes, repeat new words, and practice using them whenever possible. In addition to exploring definitions, we will be working through sample sentences and examples that clarify how each word can be used in a range of typical, everyday contexts. You might encounter these words at home, in the office, or even at a social gathering, so having them in your linguistic toolbox will help you navigate your English conversations with greater confidence. This will not be a rush lesson. We will go word by word, discussing their individual meanings and giving you examples on how you might hear or use them in daily life. So, grab a cup of your favorite beverage, get comfortable, and let us begin this relaxed yet insightful journey together as we explore these words. Here we go. Irritated is a word that describes feeling annoyed or slightly angered by something that someone said or did, or even by a situation that has grown frustrating. It is often used to capture that mood when you feel you have been pushed to your limits, albeit in a less serious way than pure anger. You might say, I feel irritated when the neighbors keep playing loud music late at night because it disturbs your peace. Alternatively, you might comment, I am irritated by all the spam emails in my inbox, expressing your annoyance at receiving countless messages you did not sign up for. The word irritated is often heard in everyday conversations to describe a smaller scale frustration that might go away if the situation changes. For example, someone might say, I am irritated that the store ran out of my favorite snack, but I guess I can buy something else. That sort of remark communicates a lighter form of agitation that might be resolved quickly, yet it still expresses that the speaker is not pleased. Sad is a word that describes a feeling of unhappiness or sorrow. When someone is sad, they often feel a sense of heaviness or disappointment. It might be because something unfortunate has happened, such as losing a beloved pet, having an argument with a close friend, or receiving disappointing news at work. In daily conversations, sad is commonly used to convey empathy or to describe a personal emotional state. For instance, you might say, I feel sad because I did not get the job I applied for. You could also hear someone say, it is sad to see so many people unable to find shelter during the cold season. These examples demonstrate that sad typically indicates a moment or period of unhappiness rather than a more permanent emotional state. If you want to express that you sympathize with another person's plight, you might say, I am really sad to hear that happened to you, which shows compassion for their situation. Stressed is a word that refers to feeling mental or emotional strain due to challenging circumstances or high-pressure demands. People often feel stressed when they have a heavy workload, pressing deadlines, or a lack of balance in their personal lives. For example, you might say, I am so stressed because I have to finish 3 projects by tomorrow. The word stressed also appears frequently when discussing the fast pace of modern life, as in, many individuals are stressed because they try to juggle work, family responsibilities, and personal interests without enough time for rest. In addition, stressed is a term that can be paired without, forming the phrase stressed out, which emphasizes the intensity of the feeling. For instance, you could say, I am really stressed out about my exam next week. Using stressed or stressed out allows you to communicate that you are under pressure and could benefit from reassurance, assistance, or a break. Furious is used to describe a much stronger and more intense form of anger. Whereas irritated or annoyed may capture a lower level or moderate feeling of displeasure, furious communicates that the emotion has reached a boiling point. This word often implies a great deal of rage, either because something deeply unfair happened or because a serious boundary was crossed. You might say, my teacher was furious when she discovered that several students cheated on the test, meaning the teacher was not just mildly upset, but felt a powerful anger about the situation. Another example could be, he was furious at the service in the restaurant because they brought him the wrong meal 3 times in a row. Furious can also be used in colloquial contexts, such as, my sister was furious after my brother accidentally spilled coffee on her new dress. It is a potent word that clearly signals someone is experiencing very strong anger. Jealous typically describes a feeling of envy or suspicion, often directed at someone who has something you desire or is receiving attention you wish was given to you. You might hear people say, I feel jealous of her promotion at work, meaning they want a similar professional advancement. Or perhaps, she felt jealous when her friend spent more time with someone else, highlighting the fear of being replaced or left out. Another example could be, he is jealous of his roommate's new car, which expresses the longing or envy for that same luxury. In romantic relationships, jealous can reflect insecurity or fear that your partner might show more interest in someone else. For instance, you might say, he got jealous when he saw his partner talking to an old friend for too long. It is important, however, to understand that jealousy in small doses can be a normal human reaction, yet in large amounts it may lead to negative behaviors or conflicts. Scared is a word that describes a feeling of fear or alarm. When you are scared, you typically believe something bad might happen or that you are in danger. This could refer to physical threats, such as being scared of a large dog that is growling at you, or psychological fears, such as being scared of failing an important exam. It is frequently heard in everyday language to highlight discomfort or nervousness around potentially risky situations. For example, a friend might say, I am scared of traveling alone because I have never done it before, capturing the apprehension of experiencing something new without the support of familiar faces. Additionally, you might say, I was so scared when the storm hit that I could not sleep at all. The word scared can be softened in casual speech by using a phrase like kind of scared, which indicates a less intense feeling of worry. For instance, I was kind of scared to ride the roller coaster, but it turned out to be fun. Nervous describes a sense of anxiety or worry that can be both physical and emotional, often accompanied by sensations like a racing heart or shaky hands. This feeling might arise when you are about to face an uncertain or high-pressure event. It is commonly used when you have a presentation at work, when you are meeting someone important, or when you are expecting test results. For instance, you might say, I am nervous about my performance review tomorrow because I want to make a good impression on my boss. Similarly, a student might remark, I always get nervous before exams, especially when the questions could be challenging. Nervous differs from scared in that it usually highlights a specific worry rather than a fear of danger, though sometimes the two words overlap. You could also say, she got nervous when her flight was delayed for hours, revealing the concern that her travel plans might be disrupted. By saying that you feel nervous, you communicate that you feel uneasy and unsettled due to an upcoming or ongoing situation. Tired describes a state of weariness or exhaustion, often resulting from a lack of sleep, physical effort, or mental strain. You might hear someone say, I am so tired after working overtime all week, emphasizing that their body and mind need rest. Another common usage could be, She felt tired from studying late into the night and needed a nap to recover. Tired can also apply to emotional or psychological exhaustion. For example, a person who has been coping with stressful personal issues might say, "I am tired of arguing with my relatives about every little thing," indicating they are drained from the constant conflicts. Beyond physical or emotional fatigue, tired can also be used more figuratively. You might say, "I am tired of hearing the same excuses," expressing your weariness with repetitive and frustrating conversations. It is a widely used word for conveying that sense of needing rest or a break. Disgusted is used when someone experiences a strong sense of revulsion or deep disapproval toward something, such as a smell, behavior, or event. This word indicates a more intense response than simply saying something is unpleasant. For instance, you might say, "I was disgusted to see the amount of trash left in the park after the festival." Another person might remark, "He was disgusted by the rudeness of his dinner guests," suggesting that their behavior offended his sense of decency. Disgusted can also describe physical reactions, such as feeling repulsed by a strong odor or a disturbing sight. For example, she felt disgusted when she found moldy food in the refrigerator. Often, disgusted is accompanied by expressions of shock, horror, or moral disapproval. While it can relate to literal smells and sights, it can also be used to describe moral outrage or intense disapproval of unethical actions. Stubborn refers to someone who is unwilling to change their opinion, behavior, or plans despite evidence that they should do so. This word focuses on a person's strong determination, which can be positive or negative, depending on the situation. You might say, "He is so stubborn that he never asks for directions, even when he is obviously lost." Another example would be, "My colleague is stubborn and refuses to take advice from anyone," which can create tension when working in a team. Stubborn often appears in contexts where a person's persistence is causing frustration for others, though it can also be framed as a positive trait if it shows perseverance. For instance, "She is stubborn in a good way because she never gives up on her dreams." In everyday conversations, telling someone they are stubborn usually implies they should become more flexible or open-minded, but it can also highlight their strong will and determination. Bored describes a lack of interest or excitement in a particular situation, task, or environment. When you are bored, you generally feel restless or unengaged, often looking for something that will stimulate you or grab your attention. A student might say, "I am bored because the lecture is too long," revealing that the content is not holding their focus. Another common situation is, "He felt bored at home on the weekend with nothing to do." It indicates an emotional state where a person wants a change or a new activity to spark their interest. You can use phrases like "bored with" or "bored of" to clarify what is causing the lack of enthusiasm. For example, she was bored with her job because she had not learned anything new in a long time. Or you might hear, "I got bored of playing that video game after repeating the same levels many times." Bored is an everyday word that easily communicates a craving for novelty or engagement. Angry expresses a strong displeasure or hostility toward someone or something. It is similar to furious, but often used more broadly and can be less intense depending on context. People might say, "I am angry that my friend showed up late without apologizing," to indicate that they feel a sense of injustice or irritation. Another example could be, "He became angry when he realized he was overcharged at the supermarket." Angry can stem from various causes, such as frustration over plans not working out, feeling disrespected, or witnessing unfair treatment. It is very common in everyday speech, and you can hear it in phrases like, "She got angry at her computer for crashing in the middle of her work." Sometimes, people use synonyms such as mad or upset in more casual settings, but angry is a straightforward and clear word to represent that strong feeling of displeasure. Now that we have explored these words that describe feelings and personality, let us quickly recap their meanings and think about how we might use them in day-to-day life. It is amazing how each of these words can drastically change the emotional tone of a conversation or a piece of writing, simply by capturing that nuanced difference between mild irritation and full-on fury, or by highlighting that distinct feeling of being tired versus bored. Having a solid understanding of these words and the ways in which they commonly appear in conversation will help you express yourself more accurately in English. When you are confident about the vocabulary you use, you can more easily share your own emotional states, empathize with others, and respond with the right phrase at the right moment. As you continue on your journey of mastering new words, I encourage you to keep a journal of unfamiliar words you encounter throughout the day, especially related to emotions and personality traits. When you hear a word like sad, stressed, or nervous, jot it down along with the context in which it was used. Then, come back to these notes at the end of the day or the end of the week to review and practice. The key to truly learning and owning these words is making them a part of your everyday speech. Thank you so much for tuning into Hello Word and for spending this time expanding your English vocabulary with me. I really appreciate having you here and look forward to bringing you more engaging lessons in future episodes. If you enjoyed this content, please take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more listeners who are also eager to enhance their English skills. In our next episode, we will explore another batch of useful English words and phrases that you can apply in everyday interactions. I hope you will join me again as we continue to make learning English both fun and easy. Until then, keep practicing, stay curious, and never be afraid to use the language in real conversations. Building confidence is an important step in becoming a more fluent speaker, and your dedication to improving your vocabulary is an important part of that journey. Thank you again for listening, and I look forward to sharing more insights on Hello Word very soon. Take care, keep learning, and see you next time.